Hi, everybody. My name is Aubrey Smith. I'm 26 years old, and today I'm going to be talking to you about an ongoing issue that's very uncomfortable to talk about, but very familiar. I want to talk to you guys today about the ongoing issue of sexual abuse. The best way for me to talk about this is to talk about my experience and to share some light and some hope with each of you. And I guess mine all just began when I was about 13 years old. It's an important time in a young woman's life. You're going through plenty of emotions. You're attached to your friends. You want to be cool. You want to put yourself out there, right? For me, I was never told that if somebody touched me the wrong way, that this is what you need to do. There was never a handbook for me to explain to me that I would go through certain emotions. And there's certain things that you need to do after such a traumatic event happens to you. So I learned the hard way. After, I don't really want to go too much into detail about what happened. I'm sure the story is all too familiar for some of you. After my abuse, just being so young, I thought the right thing to do was to hide it. I definitely didn't want my parents to know. I didn't want my friends to know. I didn't want anybody to know. I had, gotten drunk, wanted to go have fun with my friends, and ended up in a really bad position. So I didn't want people to think of me as a victim. I didn't want them to think of me as, a girl that does bad things with guys. I wanted to hide it from everybody. And in the beginning, I was more scared than anything. I was fine with not telling people, but it also made me really nervous. After a while, I had bottled up all of my emotions about the abuse and took it out in any way possible that you can think of. To my parents, to my friends, I was angry. I was very hurtful. I tried to lash out as much as I could because I didn't know what to do with what I was feeling inside about who I was. I believe in that moment, I think I lost a part of who I was, my innocence. And at that age, it's so important for young women to work on their development, their health, their learning needs, their everything there is to growing up. And in that moment, I thought that I had to grow up and I'm just had to hide everything from everybody. A lot of the emotions that I was dealing with were revolved around depression, suicide, countless times that I had attempted. Anxiety, I still suffer from anxiety today. And most of all, anger. I guess the worst part of all of it is I didn't think that I could talk to anybody about it. While I was doing some research, there were quite a few statistics on sexual abuse. Different in the United States, ages 12 to 34 are the highest risk years for rape and sexual abuse. And in my case, that was, fits right into that statistic. It also said 13% of those women that had been raped they attempted suicide. It's such an unfortunate thing, and it's hard to talk about, but it's important to talk about. That's one thing that I wish I would have done differently. I wish I would have felt that I could talk to somebody. The other thing that I feel like is very common, a lot of my research was involved PTSD. That is a huge thing for sexual abuse victims, that whether it's in relationships, whether it's just if anyone comes near you to touch you, or you don't want to get out of the house, or there is just countless things that relate to PTSD in this case. And it's something that it needs to be addressed. If it is not addressed, you end up in a situation like I did, which is trying to numb the pain, trying to take away the awful feelings and the thoughts and the emotions that revolve around such a tragic thing. The best thing for me in the end was finding somebody who I trust, who had been through an experience such as I did, who I knew that I could express and I could say these feelings that I'd never felt in my life, and I could finally talk about them. And mind you, this was 8 years later. Be patient. Be patient with yourself. I wanted to share this story because I ended up down a road, like I was saying, that I just wanted to numb everything. And I'm sure, like most of you, ended up using drugs to get rid of those feelings. I'm hoping to reach across wherever I possibly can to just get this message across, that there is hope. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, and you can do this. I think that this is something that ended up as more of a cycle for me, because I never wanted to just keep using. I didn't know any other way. I share this because before I could actually get out of that vicious cycle, I went through a time in my life that I called the darkness. That is why I feel so passionate about helping others, is because my experience with the darkness. I was only a little girl when it happened. I ended up going to prison, rehabs, losing friends, losing relationships, anything that you can possibly think of, I lost. And I understand in my heart that a lot of where all of that came from was because of my abuse. The biggest thing for me was getting uncomfortable, getting vulnerable, and being patient. There is hope. Something that is important to me is my relationship with my children. I lost that relationship in everything. There was a study called The Effects of Child Sexual Abuse in Later Family Life. It talks about the effects that sexual abuse has on the parent-child relationship. I know from my story, it affected my relationship with my mother, and I still haven't been able to repair that relationship all the way. And it also affects me with my children now, whether I'm overprotective or whether I'm not protective enough. I work on this daily with my children. I let them know that this is something that they can talk to me about. I let them know that if ever in their life somebody touches them in a way that they do not like, they have the ability to say no. And if that person continues, I explain to them that there's ways to settle this. My children have come around to me so much in the last year. It's almost overwhelming. The point I'm trying to make is just don't give up on yourself, and you just keep moving forward. Something that I've done in the last... First, I got clean. Next, I got my kids back. I'm going to school to be a social worker in hopes of helping people like me. Communication and honesty are huge if you want to work through those experiences. If you want to find yourself again, if you want to love yourself again, there is a way. When you find a purpose after everything that you've gone through, it can be life-changing. I look at my assault as something that formed the amazing woman that I am today, and that I continue to be each day. I work on this every single day, and I can talk about it now without it just destroying my every part of my being. This is something that I have hopes that each of you will get through. And I just want you guys to know that there are many out there like you. And there are many out there who've gotten through it. And you can. You can do this. Thank you.